Welcome back to Turner Farm. Today I am going to do a deep dive into my all-time favorite thing we produce on our farm, raw cream. It comes straight from our A2A2 Guernsey cow named Happy. I'm going to show you how I make my fermented milk kefir and how I use it to culture my raw cream to make cultured butter and true traditional tangy buttermilk. Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more farm recipes and tutorials like this one.
So in my opinion, the best thing about having a dairy cow is obviously the cream that you get from her, because you can make so many different things with it: butter, ice cream, whipped cream, lots of amazing foods that we love to eat. However, when I first got our new dairy cow, I was really interested in dabbling in milk kefir because it's so healthy for you, but I didn't really know how to properly use it other than just taking a spoonful of it every day, and it's really good for your gut health. A friend of mine told me about how to make cultured butter. And what I was finding is when I make my butter, it's delicious and I use just my raw cream from the fridge. However, when you make butter that way, your buttermilk is quite bland. It's not cultured, it's not sour like the traditional buttermilk that you would buy in the store. So when I was making recipes with the buttermilk, I was finding that I was having to add things like lemon juice or vinegar or things like that to the actual milk in order to get that tangy flavor that we want in things like our buttermilk biscuits and buttermilk pancakes and that sort of thing. So what she was saying is if you ferment the cream first, it's way healthier for you because then you have a fully fermented product, but also then you have fully cultured buttermilk. So you have that tangy buttermilk that we are used to eating in our foods. So I gave it a try, and she makes hers with kefir. So I'm going to show you what milk kefir is. It's very easy. I'm just going to quickly run through exactly what it is, and then how to use milk kefir to culture your cream to make cultured butter. The process is very easy, it's super straightforward, and if you're using a mixer to make your butter like I am, it takes way less time to actually make the butter if you ferment it on the counter first. Usually it's like 40 minutes for me to make butter in my mixer if I take it from cold right out of the fridge. It's like a third of that time because it skips the whipped cream phase because it's already at room temperature. So in my opinion, this is just such a great way to make your butter, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. So this is milk kefir, and basically what it is just simply fermented dairy. And how it happens is it's same as like when you add sourdough starter to flour and water and it ferments. We have what are called kefir grains, and they go into the dairy and it sits on the counter at room temperature and ferments. And this is a super healthy thing to consume. So how we do that is we're going to just scoop out these grains. They're just like a spongy grain. They can go into a clean jar, just like a sourdough starter would, and you can fill that jar up with milk, and then that's going to ferment again for another 24 hours. This hasn't been quite sitting for 24 hours, so I'm not going to pull them out yet. But once you do take them out, what's left in this jar is kefir. So you can do a secondary ferment by adding things like mango or blueberries or whatever you want and putting it into the fridge with a cover on it, and then you can just take a drink of it every day, and it is like the strongest probiotic that you can drink. It is super, super good for your gut health. It's like a whole food probiotic. So this is a really nice way to get your probiotics in a healthy way. So again, once the grain is removed and fermented elsewhere, whatever's left in this can also be used to culture your butter. So you can use kefir to culture cream. So we take, for example, if we have like a cream line here, we would scoop that out and I like to do a full liter of cream. You can also buy heavy cream at the grocery store. And then I'm going to take between 2 tablespoons and a quarter cup of this and put it in with the cream and just stir it up, and then put a loose cover on for 24 hours, and that's it. And then you have fermented cultured cream to make your butter. And the great thing about this is when you culture or ferment cream for butter, the butter that you make will last on the counter a lot longer than like raw cream that you would use out of the fridge. So it's sort of like it's like a healthy way of making sure that your butter kind of lasts a little bit longer and doesn't go rancid when it's at room temperature. And then also you're left with cultured butter or buttermilk. So you have your kind of like sour flavored buttermilk that you can use in all your baking. Okay, so this has been sitting for 24 hours, and we're gonna go ahead and start making our butter out of it.
So as a quick run through, you'll see here that I'm just skimming the cream off the top of the milk in order to add our kefir. Then here I'm taking spoonfuls of the kefir and adding it directly into the cream. Sometimes kefir can be lumpy like that. You can blend it to smooth it out, but this is totally normal. And then I'm just taking a wooden spoon, stirring it so that it really fully incorporates into the cream. And then I'm just going to cover it up and leave it on the counter to ferment for 24 hours. And then it's ready to make butter.
So I can't stress enough how great it is to use something like a milk kefir or a sauerkraut or something that has like a true fermented whole food component that you can take as your probiotic rather than taking it in a pill form or taking it in, you know, whatever supplement form that you can get at the grocery store. And you're just buying milk. If you have some grains, you can ferment it and away you go. And even pasteurized milk, if you have to get pasteurized milk, it's still fermented. It's still going to give you bacterial cultures. It's still going to be healthy for your gut. And so it's just a really quick and easy way to kind of get those probiotics in your system every day. You can put it in a smoothie if you don't like the flavor. My kids use it in a smoothie all the time, and you know, that's a really easy way of consuming your probiotics. Okay, so basically we're just gonna take the whole thing and pour it into our mixer. And I know it's hard to tell in the video, but it is just slightly thicker than usual. There's some like thicker parts of the cream. So this is a Mixer. I know that it has a cover and it looks, you know, appealing with the cover on, but I do still have to wrap a tea towel around the outside of it because when it changes over into the butter and the buttermilk, it does slosh around and there is a gap here and it still explodes everywhere. So it's a little cleaner than using just a KitchenAid, but it is still a bit messy, so I do that. So then we're just gonna turn this on. I started at around 3.5, and then I'll end up moving it up past 4 once it switches over to the creamier. It does skip the whipped cream phase, but once it gets a little thicker, I can turn it up a little bit further. So when I mentioned how it skips the whipped cream stage, so this is essentially the whipped cream stage. It goes right past it. So it's a fraction of the time when you culture your cream to make it for butter. You know, it's probably been like 10 minutes or something, and we're almost to the butter stage. So I just love doing it this way. It's a lot more hands-off and you don't have to watch it as much, and it skips right through that whipped cream phase and goes right to the butter. And then just like that, we have our butter. So again, that was like 10, 12 minutes as opposed to 40. And we're gonna strain that off. I'll show you the buttermilk and we'll get our butter salted and it'll be good on the counter for quite a bit longer than it would if it was raw. We're gonna get that rinsed out. I like to rinse it under cold water just to make sure that we have all the buttermilk squeezed out of it, because leaving buttermilk behind in butter is just asking for it to go rancid or sour earlier than it can. So if we really squeeze that all out and put lots of salt in it, then it can stay on the countertop for quite a while. And then underneath, we have our buttermilk. And it is a nice cultured buttermilk. It's a little bit thicker than it would be if we had normally just made this out of raw cream. And so I'm just gonna put that in a jar and store it in the fridge and likely use it for biscuits. That's my favorite way to use buttermilk. But you can use it for anything else that calls for buttermilk, cake, pancakes, whatever you want. I like to use it up as quickly as possible, but it can stay in there for a little bit of time. There's no worry with that. So there we go, butter and cultured butter, fermented butter, and cultured fermented buttermilk.